In life, you are given two options. You can either become a victim to your circumstances and let life play you, or you can take the front seat, buckle up, and drive your life in the direction you envisioned for yourself. We all grew up with dreams and aspirations, some big, some small, but all meaningful to us. But over time, we seem to have lost that. We forget that the world is a playground filled with experiences and opportunity we could not imagine possible for ourselves. For the most part, we seem to never truly unleash our full potential of what we are capable of. But this stops today. This is my story of turning your turmoil into triumph. G'day, welcome back. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Matt De Gruchy. Nice to meet you all. I'm someone who stands here today who has more good days than bad. But this wasn't always the case. I guess my journey through adversity begins when I was 9. I was diagnosed with a rare incurable disease called Stargardt's. This robbed me of my vision by the time I'd reached middle school. I went from having 20/20 vision as a youngster to now being legally blind by the time I'd hit my teens. Forever running from the fact that I was going blind, I couldn't bring myself to believe that this was in fact real life. It wasn't some big bad dream. I still remember the day I got the, "Yep, you're officially legally blind. Here's your blind card." This was a day I'd never wanted to see. I left that appointment feeling the most deflated, the most defeated I'd ever felt in my entire life. It seemed stupid in hindsight, but I thought that if I just tried hard enough, that maybe I could make this all go away. I was in denial. I remember crying, bawling my eyes out, not really knowing what my next steps would be. In school, my mental health started deteriorating almost as rapidly as my eyes were. I've always been someone who's very creative, so I'm sure it'll come as no shock that I soon developed a hypochondria fascination. Forever dying, Google and WebMD became my best friends and worst enemies. I would have migraines almost daily, and this was due to the fact that my eyes are always under a lot of strain and are very light sensitive. But oh no, I'd convinced myself that that was in fact a brain tumor, or if it wasn't that, it was some other terminal illness that I'd diagnosed myself with. I remember having a bruise on my arm and thinking, "Yep, that's clearly cancer. Bye world." Turns out it was dirt. It just brushed off. That's how much I'd lost control. Although these are parts of me that I no longer carry, the feeling and intense emotion from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep at night is just something I can't put into words. If there were 100, 1,000 symptoms to crippling anxiety, I had them all. I was alive, but I wasn't living. Finding comfort in food, I turned to eating as my escape or my happy place. I'd binge eat so much food that it was like it was my last meal, like I was being sent to the electric chair afterwards. I would continue to eat my way up to almost 150 kilos, living on a Skittles box of medications each day to keep my heart beating and not bursting at the seams. I was not in a good way at all. I had lost all sense of who I thought I was. I was 18 by this point, a time that's meant to be fun and exciting, world at your feet, adulthood kind of time. Wasn't the case for me. A time where everyone was getting their license and saying hello to freedom. I was losing more and more of that freedom. Rock bottom did not exist because I just kept digging. Every waking moment was designed to disadvantage me. Even the slightest inkling or a smile would trigger my brain into a SPAC attack. It being like, "Oh no, he's just smiled. Let's pump some more negative thoughts through his system, bring him back down." Our brains are crazy like that, and mine was controlling me. Lights were on, but no one was home. Forever in a cycle of fight or flight, I lived on autopilot, never knowing that perhaps, just maybe, I could steer. I think the first time I ever had a higher self or awareness moment was when my family organised this intervention-style meeting with some doctors and a couple family members. I didn't want to be a part of this at first. I thought I was being forced into seeking help for something I didn't know stemmed from within myself. You see, we are always exactly where we're meant to be. There's no mistakes in where we end up because we have created it. Those negative beliefs that I held on to, that became my reality. The critical self-talk, the pain, the suffering, that was self-inflicted. And the moment I caught a glance of this was the very moment of my realization that perhaps the very thing that took me so low could be the thing that lifted me up. 5 years ago, I started this journey of self-discovery, seeking answers, trying to be a sponge, absorb as much information on how I could do better, be better, and more importantly, learn how to overcome the anxieties and the depressions that for so many of us tie us to the ground. I posted a video to the internet. It was the first time I'd ever done so, the only time. This video was featured in America's Foundation Fighting Blindness to How I See It campaign, and it was liberating. I'd never been open about my vision before, or my struggles, ever. Maybe this was a new chapter. Could it possibly be? A great friend of mine recently said to me, and I quote, is that you can go to a dark place, but you can't stay there. I don't think I'd heard more true words than on that very day. So how do we do it? How do we get out? Well, it's when you surrender that you are set free. Now, it's never been about denying that the storm isn't coming. It's never been about trying to suppress the emotions and the triggers that we feel. That's natural. We're human. We feel stuff. But what it is about, however, is knowing damn well that that storm is indeed coming and still sailing head on. It's knowing that sometimes life sucks, but still getting up each time with enough compassion left in your hearts to be kind to a stranger. It's knowing that you're going to fail, but not letting that stop you. It's the voice inside your head telling you you'll never be enough, but replacing that with I am. It's constantly pushing that needle forward. It's doing things that you know will build yourself up, not tear yourself down. It's focusing on brighter horizons when all you feel is darkness. My brain tells me shit all the time that I don't agree with. We can't let our self-doubt be the reason why we stop. We don't stop. We don't do that no more. Let's do things while we can. Forever is never promised. If one thing these past 12 months in this pandemic world that we live in is that nothing is certain. So for us to keep moving forward, we have to be okay with the uncertainty. We have to be okay with the sad times, the bad times, the messy, the ugly, the beautiful, the love, the loss, the pain, the suffering, all of that. Because as soon as we stop moving forward, that's when we die. Let go of the past experiences that no longer serve you. Do not ruminate on a future that you do not want to live in. Because as always, your wish is the command of what you're receiving back. Whether you're a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person, you always bring about what you are focusing on. For better or for worse, it's always your call. So how are you going to spend your time here on this rock floating around in space we call Earth? Victimhood or victory? The choice is yours. For we are all so different, but one thing always remains the same. We all bleed, we all cry tears. We are all human. We were all born into this world, and we will all leave this world. But it's in that narrow window of time that we have here, living and breathing, that we can achieve remarkable things. And if we do it right, one life will be enough. Go get them. You've got this. You've always had it. What makes you visionary? Thank you.